questioning myself a lot. And I think it's really important for everything we're doing. Like if we're wanting to build autonomous systems, how is how are we in check with our autonomy? So yeah, so I wanted to open that question. How autonomous do you feel? And if that's hard to answer, maybe like what does autonomy is for you? Is there something that you don't feel autonomous about? I can start. So for me, I think I have a constant struggle between autonomy and comfort, like feeling very comfortable about like having everything I need around, and then also having a sense of adventure and wanting to do things on my own, and feeling like I'm in control of my own decisions. So if I could measure how autonomous I feel right now, I think it would be like 40%. Like definitely not where I want to be. And then there are little things like I don't know, I was thinking I'm a smoker and I have like very little autonomy about my addiction. And that makes me have choices that are not like 100% from my will. There's also something else that makes me take that decision. That is the addiction. So it's not like a full autonomous path. And yeah, just some reflections. And then hopefully we can bring this to the decisions that we take in our everyday, in our communities that we take here. So I will pass to Griff.
Yeah, so autonomy to me is like agency. It's like how much freedom do you have almost, and I like your connection to willpower. Uh, I I feel like I have a lot of autonomy, but there's certain things that I'm not fully autonomous with. For instance, how long can I stay in Costa Rica? You know, I have this like passport that says, nope, you can't be here for too long, and stuff like that. You know, that's like, these things irk me so bad, and I even have to use this silly passport and I don't know, I don't feel like I have the agency or the autonomy to just be a human on the planet all the time. But in general, we don't have the 9 to 5 job, and we have like a lot of freedom. I feel like relative autonomy is off the charts, but it's hard to be fully autonomous. I'll pass it to Mitch.
Thanks, Griff. Yeah, that's interesting points you brought up. I feel like I have a high amount of autonomy. I don't think I could pin a percentage on it, but it's like being able to actualize the things that you want. And so your autonomy is, if you want something, do you have the means or the agency to make it happen? And I think, we hit some limitations with their passports, but then, we can find a way around it. And I wonder if autonomy kind of rolls into the conversation around privilege, and all that discussion there. It's like, because I was born a white man from Canada, do I have more privilege, and does that translate to autonomy somehow? Do I have agency to do something that other people can't with less effort or less headaches, I guess, in a way? I know that's probably opening up a whole can of worms, but I just kind of thought of it now when you're talking about passports and all that. Anyway, I'll pass it to Wonka.
Yeah, I feel a lot of autonomy, and I feel that my autonomy has been growing um, like in the past time, because like being in crypto also like lets you escape from economies that are not like really well built, or yeah, this thing of historical inequalities. So I think that's really great on the economical side, but also from the personal side. From NBC, I have taken one big learning, and is that you have and we can be responsible for our own feelings and not others, and that gives you a lot of autonomy when you understand that your feelings are truly yours, and like not others are the one that can make you feel things but only you. And yeah, so you're autonomous about your feelings. That's what I think. And I'll pass to Aloysius.
Thank you. I was still stewing on what Mitch was saying. I was appreciating the intersections that were kind of being dragged out. My brain was spinning out on that. Yeah, I feel like I have a ton of autonomy. But that's because I'm like an autistic person who didn't know it until later on in their life, and I've decolonized under a whole lot of systems and like unconditioned myself from being in a cult and all sorts of things. So I feel like I just have a profound awareness to my autonomy and how to, well, learning. I'm a few years into learning how to engage with my autonomy and set boundaries and things like that, because I realized that those were things that I never got practice early on in my life establishing. So I feel like in all aspects throughout these digital spaces, even I have a lot of autonomy. I carve it out with intention because I know that it's been taken from me in so many ways. Yeah, I'm not sure who to pass it to. I saw that Durgatis hopped in, but they just hopped in, so that's probably not a good person to pass it to.
I got to.
Thank
Let's
you.
pass to Nate.
Thank you. I'm sure Durgadas appreciates that. I will say that this is something that I have really struggled with trying to define in my life in general. Because on one hand, I think that we all have the ability to be nearly 100% autonomous outside of the kind of, environmental restrictions, things like passports, governments, whatnot. Um, but also like the individual autonomy aspect of it is just trying to figure out how to realize that you have the ability to make decisions and to do the things that you want to do, and that each of those decisions carry consequences. Like, could I really just up and leave my life? Like, I could, but it does have consequences. I have a wife and an upcoming child, so it's like, wow, that's a decision that I have limited on my spectrum of autonomy. So it just kind of it's one of those things I struggle with, because it's like I would love to have autonomy in like the small decisions, whether it be like what we do in the TEC versus like autonomy in general, where it's like, I don't know, you're restricted. But yeah, outside of that, I would say that I have complete autonomy, except for I am restricted by the consequences of those choices. So, but yeah, I will pass it to Eru.
Thank you. Yeah, I follow a little bit of what Nate said, and also what Mitch said. I think there is a certain level of autonomy that we all accomplish. In my case, for example, just the freedom of not having to pay taxes in any place that I live or I have lived give me a sense of autonomy that I really enjoy. But then there is this, I feel there is a personal concept of autonomy, and there is a context sense of autonomy. And in the context sense of autonomy, we are all subjects to cultural boundaries, political boundaries, and the way we were raised. So Mitch talked about privilege. And yes, that's an autonomy that you have over me, for example. Just because you were a white man born in Canada, you speak other languages and so on, you have way more autonomy than someone who was born in Panama with only speaking one language. So that by itself gives a sense of autonomy that I don't have, objectively talking. And then I feel then it comes how you have this context of autonomy, how you deconstruct it personally, in your personal level, how you deconstruct this autonomy that is lack, or this autonomy that was imposed on you. So it's a tricky question. If I take it to the TEC, I felt that when I arrived, even though I was spoken and told that I have autonomy, the chaos that existed didn't allow me to have autonomy. So even though I was told, or I could have felt that I had autonomy, the space didn't allow me to. And I think that's something quite interesting, because yes, we could all say we have certain level of autonomy, but how valid is that if we don't have the context to actually execute that autonomy? So that will be my 2 cents on that, and I will pass it on to Septimus.
Thanks, Edu. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the autonomy is a feeling. Like, for example, with all the COVID stuff, my autonomy theoretically went down, right? But I don't feel it like this because I'm doing the same I was doing before. But for someone, I don't know, who was traveling a lot, for example, maybe they have more restrictions, problems, or, you know. Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel pretty autonomous. Like, I do what I feel I want to do. And yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add. I'm sorry, but yeah, I just feel I'm autonomous. But again, I feel it's a feeling and not a fact. Back to you, Libby.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to move.
Oh God.
Okay, good. I had to move places because the connection was so bad where I was. And I'll pass to Durgadas.
The idea of autonomy is an extremely interesting question. But yeah, I think it's for this reason that you guys might hear me in various things saying that none of this is happening. All of this is an illusion. You know, in order to have real autonomy, you can't really believe in anything. You can't really believe in your own identity or any individuation of any kind. And autonomy, I think, is one of the sort of things that you struggle with when you're trying to be what looks like a human being in an infinite universe, you know. And so this idea of autonomy then struggles against various kinds of upbringing things like you do brought up, and so yeah, it's a very interesting question, and that's why I do the decolonization work too, is because in order to be more autonomous, you have to be able to understand the different ways in which you're being influenced by various aspects of life, you know. And so, but for me, I think it all begins with giving yourself permission. Um, giving yourself permission to think and feel independently from whatever context that you might feel trapped in. And it's also true that we kind of grow, if you look at spiral dynamics, in terms of an alternating series of, I want to be more selfish now I want to be more social, and now I want to be more selfish, and then you kind of go through different things around that. So being autonomous in some way is feeling free to being able to choose to claw yourself back from whatever social context, and looking at yourself, and then to then choose to engage with a larger community as you see fit. So that's kind of, I guess, my view on autonomy. I feel very autonomous for the most part, but there's always some hidden shadow thing which I'm in denial of, or can't work out for myself. So, and freeing myself from those things is my life's work. So, yeah. So I'm not sure who else is gone yet.
I think everybody went. Thank you. And we have a quite short agenda today, but I wanted to ask you all, since you're in this call, to vote on this quadratic rank choice test. So Pedro and I are discussing the best way to do this quadratic ranked choice voting on Snapshot. He was saying that you can't make another voting type, but you can fork it and see if they approve it. But he's trying something else that I don't fully know what it entails on. I think he will use this vote to apply the square root on everyone who voted on it and see if it works and if that code can be added on top of all of the votes that are ranked choice voting. So if you can just go there and vote on it. So Mitch just posted this other vote that is also ranked choice, but it's going to take 4 days. And we just wanted something quick here.
Just
so
a
he can start looking at it.
Quick note on that. Actually, because we messed up the order, so it's the initial buy-in now, and that's quadratic because it's just a yes/no vote.
Oh, right.
So anyway, there is an open vote there.
Okay.
Because the timeline was the initial buy-in actually has to be passed before we can do the rest, like the set of 7.
Cool. So there is this 2 votes to vote on. This one just for test, and it's going to end in the top of the hour of this call. So just so he has something to work with, that would be cool. Let me see. There's already 4 people. Maybe just having a little more would be great. And then the other vote is the initial buy-in. So yeah, just a yes/no vote. And from here, we can propose the sets of groups that were suggested. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. We're right next to each other, but we're on separate screens because we want to keep each other's autonomy. So yeah, just like on our screen there's the initial buy-in proposal, and you can follow the thread there to get up on all the info. But basically what happens, what's in the thread there, if you click on it, some people have nominated sets of 7, which are going to be on the multi-sig. So assuming that the initial buy-in passes, then we'll make a subsequent vote to see who the 7 people are using ranked choice voting on the sets, who's going to be on this multi-sig. If you have any questions about that, just read the thread first to get up to speed, and then otherwise you can always reach out to me for more on that.
Do you want to share a little bit on that too, Griff, or Zaptimus? Because there was the discussion of talking to stakeholders, and it seems like it was successful.
Almost too successful. Everyone wanted to be on this multi-sig. They're stoked. They don't even care what it is. They didn't read the forum post. They're like, what? Yeah, sign me up. So there was only one person who I talked to that said no, and so I had to just stop asking. Because we have enough. So we're doing ranked choice quadratic voting. Should I like make a token and make that happen? We'll need to make a new snapshot and.
Well, yeah. Now we have this buffer of the buy-in being voted just as a yes or no, because we never did that, and then I don't know if you lost a bit of the conversation, but Pedro, we're doing this other test just so Pedro can see if the solution he's proposing can work, like for now already.
Yeah, the internet went out over here. I don't know. Your Costa Rica seems like it's a little bit better than mine. Right today. Internet just went out for a few minutes, so I totally missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, so if you can go there and vote just on the test vote, that would help us. It's going to close on the top of this hour on Snapshot.
So can I ask about the initial buy-in real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Is this kind of like the ratified? Like, is this an official vote? I think there's a lot of context missing from the actual proposal template, not describing exactly what the vote is enforcing? Is this just a signal vote? Or is this like where this is it?
This is not it, because the buy-in will have to be voted on the hatch DAO, because it's actually grabbing funds. So this is just a signal for us to move forward with the other proposal, that is the sets of people that we're choosing.
Okay.
Because, well, we had a small discussion about this, that would it be like sneaky if we were just voting on the sets of people, and the proposal itself wasn't even like decided on, and it's quite a big thing. So it's just good to have a yes or no to move on with, like, oh, then we're choosing this multi-sig, and then it's basically all very solid for when it goes to the hatch DAO. It's like we can have just the top voters voting on it, and we know that the community was backing it.
Okay. So I don't want to be that guy, but like I was gonna say, that it'd be really nice to have that type of language within the actual proposal, so people who aren't in the know understand the context of what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with Nate. I mean, Mitch shared the link on and asked how we're gonna communicate about this to hatchers. But then, if in the link that we're gonna send, which is this one, there is no description, then they will bring more questions to anything else. People won't read that forum post that it's endlessly. So we need to update that description at some point. I mean, we can start using the template for proposals that we had on there if it is possible. But I don't know. I feel it's just too short on the description for such an amount, even if it's just signaling. I feel like if we're gonna do the things right, we should do try to think in all the right possible way. If that makes any sense.
But to be fair, Mitch updated the forum thread. Like he did it. Like after the feedback, he updated the thread, so it's just the first one.
But I'm not sure if it actually it states, like within this proposal forum, that it states that the snapshot proposal itself is either signaling, or it's going to be, this is the actions that are going to be taken afterwards. I really do think those things need to be articulated within every single snapshot proposal that we have. Because while we know what's going on, it doesn't mean that, a newcomer who wants to exercise their voting rights will definitely know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, but anything you wanna do on chain, you have to vote it on chain, right? Like if you wanna get tokens, it has to be on chain. Like it's impossible this vote to be, a final decision. Like even the 75% governance, like.
And that's good. That's good information to include as well. But like I said, like we may know how the process works here, but I think that a lot of people who aren't constantly in the know of what's going on, or know the process full-heartedly, they may be confused by it, and it'll just limit the amount of confusion.
Yep, I agree.
So are you guys proposing that we edit the snapshot vote, or is it possible, or can we edit the snapshot vote, and can we just edit the forum post and put the details there?
I agree actually with this feedback. I think there should be a TLDR there, and then now just thinking, maybe that needs to be a little. I wonder if we can template that on Snapshot. That like when people just open the proposal, I'll ask that to Pedro. If there could be a couple of questions of like, what is the scope of this, and what does this decision implies for, just on that TLDR on the top, and then more information in the forum, because then it's all the information. But yeah, assuming that people wouldn't read everything. We can't edit proposals on Snapshot. So is this like a wanting to delete the proposal and rewrite that top description?
Either that, or we can just add something to the forum post right at the top that says, hey, this is for, regarding Snapshot, and just have a note up there. But that would require somebody to edit it, whoever originally put it up there. So I guess Mitch.
Well, I'm trying to get my head around all this template and signaling and all these extra steps. So what you guys want is to just put a TLDR on the top that clarifies it's for signaling, and then there's going to be a legitimate vote that's going to be on the hatched out later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's technically not extra steps. It's just like informing what this proposal is for.
Yeah, it's not going to be an extra vote. It's just going to be part of the Commons upgrade vote, right?
I get it. Yeah. But so there's like there was a template that was supposed to be used, or it just wasn't clarified that this was for signaling.
I mean, I think for everything that goes into a snapshot, there should be an explanation of what it is. And we created with Libby this template that we can use that or any other, but like we can just not simply assume that with a forum post people will know what it is this is about. So yeah, I mean, either we create a template for signaling that we don't have, or we use the ones that we have.
Right.
And I think a template will be good in organizing these snapshot votes in the long term, because we're going to have a ton of snapshot votes at some point, and being able to differentiate between, signaling snapshot for like a on-chain vote versus like a social consensus decision that happens within the DAO is something to differentiate. So if we take like an EIP type of approach towards it, or develop our own system, I think either way, transparency on information is really important.
Well, we have the template already. The problem is that where is that template going to be available? Like, will people have to go look for the template? I think that's the problem that's happening. Like, I'll look into this if we can embed a template on Snapshot.
Yeah, we can have just one snapshot proposal that says, this is the template, and just have the copy paste type of template that you can.
But you know what I mean? Just for people
Yeah.
to go look for something to copy and paste. Where is that going to be if someone is just coming to make a proposal? Like, I think it has to either be embedded in it, or we can't be so strict about it.
I think if you create an actual proposal that just says proposal template, and then it has the format embedded, and just lock it onto the snapshot page, it'd be nice.
So, I mean, the thing is like I can still go on there and just click new proposal and create a proposal. And so it's like, without it being intuitive, like, I mean, we're making all these assumptions that people aren't going to read anything. So, I mean, using that logic, even what the solution you're saying, Nate, won't work. So it has to be like there, obvious.
I think if we start off with the template and we're consistent with it, we can kind of condition people to follow this type of practice. Like, you're right. Like, there's no way to enforce that rule, but I think that if we can start conditioning people to follow a certain process, that it'll just become second nature over time if we can really commit ourselves to not breaking that chain.
Yeah, sorry, I rephrase. People will read, but the thing is that because either people don't read or read, we cannot assume that we're gonna skip informing them. So that's the bottom line of my phrase. Sorry, I said it the wrong way.
And just to be fair, that's the same thing that happened with the 75% governance give back, that it wasn't explicit in the body of the proposal that was just a signal for something that would have to be posted after. So I think just saying that this is a signal, and a signal for what? Because even if we look here at the proposal, it says this proposal aims to acquire TEC tokens at the moment of initialization. That's not what is going to happen from that vote on Snapshot. So
yeah, even editing the forum post doesn't. Oh,
I actually think.
Sorry. So, yeah, I was just saying that it doesn't quite give the whole context of the snapshot vote if you're just editing the forum post, because the forum post is what's going to be used on the hatch, vote. Anyway, go ahead, Griff.
Don't get me wrong. I I feel like these are really valid points. Personally, I still think we should just push forward with this vote. And I'm totally down with being overruled, but like let's what I would say is let's take lessons and apply them to future and accept imperfection on like what we got to do to not just get held up in the bureaucracy of things, but make things better as we go. But it's like, I mean, do people want to do the 250K initial buy? That is the core of it. And if we want, we could just add something in the forum post, like at the very top. And then instead of trying to, like, I don't know, canceling a vote, did we already promote it or not? If we didn't, sure, maybe if that's the easiest thing. But like, I don't think that we need to be such perfectionists about this stuff. We're really good at governance. So it's okay if we screw up once in a while and we say, we actually think, we want to do it this way next time, I do think, for me personally, I think the biggest thing is more of doing a QA before it goes on Snapshot instead of after. Just like advice process before, so that people can have their inputs and then it goes out. So maybe instead of posting before this call, like posting during the call or something, or after the call. And I'm totally cool being overruled. If you think it's easy just to delete the snapshot vote and move forward with the right thing, that's perfectly fine.
For me, like what Griff said is completely valid. I just don't, and I think we should look forward and push if it's needed. As long as this doesn't reinforce the behaviors, keeping writing the things as it should be explained on the snapshot. Because at the end of the day, and this is sorry, I'm probably being biased, but I'm the one who does the outreach, and I'm the one who has to handle with the message of people after asking me every question about what they don't understand or what they do understand, and this is coming from that place of having to spend a lot of hours on doing this. So if you guys can make that just that little explanation in future snapshot, that will be just immensely appreciated. So that's it, my 2 cents on that, and I finished it.
Does anyone pushes back on moving forward like that?
I had just like a quick idea from the issue template we're using for the dashboard. I can just put in there, it's just like signal your favor for this proposal on Snapchat and drop the link for the vote. Does that help? So we can add it in at the top in like a big header.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, I agree, and I agree with Griff that this is a completely legitimate proposal, that it captures the intent of it, and so I don't have a problem with it. I'm with Edu on this. Like, it's just overall long-term consistency with how we propose these proposals on Snapshot is extremely important to voting behaviors. And so if it's completely inconsistent, you're going to have people opting out and people not, following along, and it causes problems. So I just think moving forward, making sure that we're consistent in the way we submit these proposals is the most important thing.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think just putting something on the top of the forum post will be enough. And maybe just keeping up this practice of having a TLDR on snapshot proposals moving forward. And while we find a way, if we can embed a template on Snapshot or just having a simple description, I think it would be good. I do like just this step by step I did on the Snapshot params proposal. I think it's a good thing to do. Like, after you write the proposal, you look what are the main points, and then write bullet points of the TLDR of like what is being voted here, and we can just bring more of that moving forward. So if it's cool, we'll move to the next topic, that is delaying the Commons upgrade. So that was asked around, but just a quick working group advice process temperature check. If we decide on this call that is cool, then I will update this forum post. I see your comment, Griff, of like not editing the original post, but I think it should be edited because it's going to be super confusing if it's not.
Totally. But I edited it really poorly because I actually meant to make it a comment and just deleted everything. It even says like, "Oh, and by the way, I'm on vacation during this time," but it was going to be you. So, totally my bad. But I'll let you pull the trigger on editing.
Okay, cool. So 5 seconds for like if anyone has a pushback on delaying the commons upgrade. Pronounce yourself right now or never, or we're gonna update this. So edit this post. I mean, it's probably just the. So the one you did you change anything in the one you copied here, or it's just the dates? Correct?
Sorry, I wasn't muted. I thought. Sorry.
Never.
Just the dates.
Okay.
Yeah, just the dates. I think.
Okay. Great.
The dates and the
So
reason. I added context, but in the thing, I only changed the dates, the copy paste part.
okay. Okay. So we're good to go on this. I'll update that. And and then this is another topic. So there is a chain of things that I'm doing that are all like linked to each other, and I start untangling all of this. So to inform in detail our governance process, we have to speak about how people use the forum and the proposal sections of the forum. And that is something that needs to be updated for a long time. And a couple of calls ago, Mitch suggested that we use tags like it's being used on Giveth, and that this has been working well, and that we could delete the sections of each proposal and just search for the tags. So they would all be under proposals. And if I look for HatchDAO, then the tags will show up here on the side. And then you click, and then you see all of the proposals that were related to the HatchDAO. So by doing this, the good thing is that we remove all of the overhead from like, oh, you post a proposal and advice process, and then you have to change to the conviction voting session, and then you have to change somewhere else. So this, we don't have to change proposals anywhere. We just submit all of them to proposals, and then we just add a tag. And whenever people look up the tag, they will find all of the stuff that is related there. So I started creating these tags and moving some stuff away. So I already moved away the ones from that were on Dandelion, because that doesn't even exist anymore. And I'll slowly do that with all the rest. I mean, not slowly, super quick, but with conviction voting, forum voting, that it's also obsolete. And advice process, Zeptimus had suggested that we had a session just for advice process that is not inside of proposals, that it's like another category in the forum. Just wanted to get a temperature check on either we think that this is cool to be here on proposals, or if it's a separate category that would be less confusing. Can we do a quick round? Aloysius, do you want to share what do you think about this?
I don't have thoughts on this thing particularly. I'm feeling a little disengaged just because for months I haven't been able to figure out how to get like tech tokens or to like be engaged, and people say like when they do praise and all that stuff it'll happen, and it like doesn't happen, and I send messages to people and they're like, oh well, that's it couldn't be wrong, but I'm still sitting here every time I try to go do things and seeing 0 and can't interact, so I'm like just listening. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
We want to talk about that because I can probably explain it really quickly, and that will probably help you out a lot. So I think you joined at like a funny middle phase because we have closed the hatch already, and so that was like the initial phase where you could essentially earn tech tokens, so TCH tokens, from the work that you had done leading up to the hatch, and also from investing XDAI into the hatch itself and receiving TCH tokens. So if you weren't in there before that and then now you're here, it's like that middle phase where we don't actually have any tokens to mint to give you voting power at this point. So, you know, once we have the commons upgrade and once we have the reward system, then, you know, those contributions retroactively will be rewarded to you with TEC tokens, which then you can use to vote on stuff. But right now we're in governance limbo, I guess you could say.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still very welcome to opinionate on things that we don't need to vote with tokens for. So does anyone has strong thoughts about this, or doesn't really matter? Zaptimus, do you want to
Yeah, I really like the advice process, and then and keep it separate from the proposal, because it helps like like you can go on advice process because you wanna check in with the community, but then later on like you can decide what if the feedback like keep the proposal clean, and you can say, okay, I'm going to integrate this but not this. Like you can still propose whatever you want, but it's good to I really like and we were using it for a very long time, and I think it's very useful. I really like advice process and then proposal being separate, but yeah, that's my opinion.
And I think that would help also with this problem of like, oh, if someone submits something to advice process and then it's a really dirty draft, then when they submit to proposals, that would be clean. They would have that incentive of like revising it and moving to a more like templatable thing.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so if anyone else has opinions on that, I guess we can just do that.
You're talking about just changing the tags, not having like a dirty post and a clean post.
No, I mean, not having advice process inside of proposals. So they would be a separate step.
So it would be a separate post?
It would be a post that people request advice that doesn't need to be in a template. And then when they are going to move forward with the proposal, and that helps also in the structure we've been thinking for the governance, that some proposals, they can end on advice process. They don't need to like always become a proposal. And I think that is misleading now that they are all together in the same proposals place. So if we have a section just for advice process, and maybe if there's something that is like a large impact advice process, and it's ended there, there was enough meaningful advice and no pushback, the person can move forward, they don't need funds for anything, then it can be solved. It doesn't need to be voted on.
Okay, I get it.
I have thoughts now. I had them before,
Cool.
but that really wove it in. If you want to like change people, you use propaganda. That's how you change people's behavior. So if you wanted to, I'm with the good guys now. If you wanted to do it, creating visuals or something to display the new way a process is, and then using your channels to spread that to everybody so everybody sees it. So when you get something that's new and you like it, maybe it's like big Twitter post that everybody sees, and you encourage people to like share it or something so that it raises the awareness and more folks see it who are like on the outskirts kind of. But yeah, I heard that in what you were just saying too in this last one, with having that separation between like, you know, folks even knowing from the outside, like, oh, in some situations I do this, and if we like need more, then it moves into this. But like signaling that to everybody, to the collective, to like, yeah, that happens with propaganda. Memes are good for it too, I see.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good segue to the next topic, actually. That is the infographic we're creating for the decision-making process. So here we've been like testing a few ways, and this is not so close to being done. We just had a meeting today with Katarina and Acid Laser that are doing the design. So first, we were here thinking of, okay, you first get to advice process, and then there's this use cases, and each use case connects to other voting modules. And then this was really hard to see, too dark, didn't seem so intuitive. And then we moved to this, that in the end of the day became less intuitive, but at least we had some changes on the colors and the icons explaining everything. So now after the meeting we had today, we decided to move back to this flow, but with all of the improvements that we had happening here. And then we're going to make a background for each one of them, so they will stand out kind of like modules. And these lines will be a little bit stronger, so people understand that these are the steps that they have. Like, oh, so from large community impact, this proposal can either like die there or go to request funding, or it can request a technical change, or it can go to snapshot for all of this use cases. And then there's token log that is not connected with advice process, but it's connected with snapshot. So this flow will get way better. And then we'll have kind of like a glossary for what each thing means. And I just wanted to show this progress to you guys. And if anyone wants to give feedback, let me know that I can add you to the Figma and add comments to it. If something pops up now that you want to share, do feel free and we can add some comments to it, or I can send the invites. Okay, that was all the topics I had for today. If anyone has something else to bring up, we have 9 minutes. Otherwise, we can end earlier.
I would like to invite everyone to the Graviton training that is coming after this call. I have prepared it with a lot of love, so yeah, I would like to have you there. And thanks, Livy.
Yay!
And if you want
Graviton
to
training.
continue the party,
Go, Griff.
well, it still says I'm muted on my screen. Can you guys actually hear me?
We
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, cool. Well, after the Graviton workshop is a pram party, which is going to be epic. So definitely don't want to miss that too. If you want to hang out with the TEC for a few hours today, one after the other.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Caesar, for joining us today. Welcome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Julie.
everyone.